Hello vinyl community. Today's video, I don't know what to actually name this video. I've got several ideas. But it's kind of like, do you remember when you were younger and it was Christmas time and you were expecting a Red Ryder BB gun, and you wake up for Christmas and all you got is a pair of socks. That's how I felt yesterday. So I will tell you this story. Last week, this one girl that I graduated with, she sent me a text saying on Facebook there was a post of a buyer or a seller that was selling a huge record collection in my area. So I looked at the ad and it sounded like, wow, they have everything that you would ever want. There was a picture, and the picture was really nice. It showed a huge, there was probably 5,000, 6,000 records in this wall, you know. And there was a guy, his back was turned and he was pulling out an album. And I looked at that picture and my first instinct was, wow, that looks like a really professional picture. Whatever. So I got into contact with the seller, and she was selling a record collection that her father had. Supposedly he had collected that throughout his years, you know. So I didn't say anything more. They only lived like an hour from my house, so this was Sunday morning, and they would be kind of showing the records to anybody from 11 to 7 that evening. So it was a beautiful day. I jumped in the car, and the picture, like I said, it was a huge wall of records. So I figured this guy must have a really nice big house, maybe out in the country in the hills, you know. I thought, wow, this might be something really cool. So I was kind of hepped up. So anyhow, I'm getting closer, and like 2 miles, my navigation says you were 2 miles away, and I'm entering a small town. And I'm kind of looking around at the neighborhoods, and I'm thinking, wow, I don't know if there's going to be a house like that in this town. So anyhow, I head down towards the address, and Siri says, "You have reached the destination." Wow. So I look over, and there's a little bungalow, kind of run down, to put it mildly. So I saw that, and there was a little bell that went off in my head, and but I thought, well, I'm here. And I did see a guy walk out of the house with a couple of records. So I pulled in beside the house, and I talked with that guy who had just come out of the house. And he was shaking his head. He said, man, he said, there's nothing in there, you know. Although he did get a couple albums, you know. So once again, the bell goes off in my head. But I told him, I said, well, I'm here. I might as well go in and check it out. So I go in the house, very small living room, and there were like 7 crates of records. Now originally in the ad, it was like a couple thousand. And actually later on, I checked this out a little more, and she had an ad on previous to that they had 10,000 records. Okay. So anyhow, I go in there. There's 7 crates of records. So you're talking probably 400 max. So I'm taking a quick look, and these are like basically thrift store rejects, I think. They were not his collection. I mean, it was, you know, basically a pile of junk. The record covers were, the album covers were like in poor condition at best. Well, a lot of them were like really bad. So anyhow, I thought, well, I'm here, I might as well look. So I looked through the, quote, jazz section, and there was an album by Kai Winding, the trombonist. It was on Prestige. So I pulled that out, and the father said, hey, you want me to throw that on the turntable? And so I said, yeah, sounds good. So he put that on, and it was like, ooh, this is nasty. And he looked at me and he said, boy, that doesn't sound too good, does it? I said, well, I'll just look. And at this point, you know, I'm thinking, should I just leave, you know, without getting anything? But I am a nice guy. I try to be considerate of other people, whatever. So I made my mind up. I told myself, I'm going to find 2 records in all these trashy records. So I did pick 2 out, and so I left the house, and this was probably around noon by then on Sunday. And after this experience, I really needed a beer. So I ended up at Buffalo Wild Wings up the road, had a couple, watched a little pro football. So anyhow, I came back to my house, and the 2 records I got, I immediately took them out to my kitchen sink. I was going to give them a scrubbing with by hand with a brush, and that's what I did. Because these babies, they had never had a bath, I'm sure, you know. They kind of smelled anyhow. And, So anyhow, I cleaned them all up, and I will show you what I picked up. 2 records. I asked the guy, I said, well, how much for these 2 records? He said, oh, about $10. I wasn't going to dicker with him. That's fine. I wanted to get the records and get out. So, the first record, I kind of like 10-inch vinyl. And this is from 1954. It's Errol Garner. Really cool cover. It's called Garnering. And I think it's just him on piano. Like I said, this was 1954 issue. It is on MRC Records. A cool record label. It must have been a division of Mercury. And actually, when I look at this record, actually it looks beautiful. I don't see hardly any marks. But I did play it the other night, and it sounded pretty rough, which I figured. I just bought it for the, you know, for the collection part. But I will put that back on because it actually looks really good. So the other album I got, this had kind of been on my list. You know, if I would ever see it in a record store and remembered, I would probably pick it up. If you watch some of my other videos, I'm into Peter Gunn, that old 50s, 60s detective series TV show. And I do have an album by Shelly Manne and he does the music for Peter Gunn. Actually, Shelly did a second album of Peter Gunn music, And Henry Mancini did 2 albums of Peter Gunn music, which they are the bigger band. So this would be the first Henry Mancini. It's on RCA, Living Stereo, 1959 issue. It's not a first pressing, but it's in that first year. I think the original on the rear did not have this picture. It was just white space here. So that's one way I could tell what it was on Discogs. Anyhow, so I cleaned this baby up. I will show you the RCA label there. Got the dog and everything. Looking at this record, it looks pretty beautiful. Not too bad after I cleaned it up. So I put it on the turntable, not knowing what to expect. There was a little surface noise which disappeared when the music started playing. I don't think any pops or crackles. Actually, this sounds beautiful. Everything is like really dynamic, crisp, and clear. So I guess the day was not a complete waste. I was a little pissed off afterwards, but looking back at it, it was it's funny. And I do remember seeing Dylan at Noble Records. He had a video out a few months ago. Him and Chris, actually they drove like 2 or 3 hours, I think. Same kind of deal. They get to the place. It was supposed to have 10,000 records or whatever. There was like 800 and they were all crap. So what's the moral of the story? One of the morals is, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Another moral is, don't believe everything or maybe anything you read on Facebook. I mean, this was... I did report them to Facebook for inaccurate description, because obviously they pull this con job on people, and they probably get $10 from each person, you know, that gets in the house for these, you know, records. So anyhow, that was my experience over the weekend. So I hope all you folks have a nice week, and I'll catch you later. See ya.